Video game movies, oh boy, they are pretty awful. The top 3 scoring films on Rotten Tomatoes are Final Fantasy The Spirits Within at 45%, Rampage at 51%, and Tomb Raider 2018 at 51% also, with the 2 films from last year being the first to actually eke over the 50% mark. I've watched all 3 of these films and I wouldn't really recommend any of them. Each time I see a big budget adaptation, I'm always picturing a prospector, inspecting areas around an actual gold mine, but not quite being able to tap the vein. At least some of the more recent entries are getting closer to the mark. In relation to Detective Pikachu, I personally think the Detective Pikachu movie could be the biggest thing this year. The biggest box office take and the biggest like when Harry Potter came out and everybody went, oh fuck, we need to make films about little children's books and stuff. So you had like everything from there. Chronicle of Narnia, The Bridge of Terabithia, you know, all that shit. I think people are going to be like, yeah, shit, video game tie-ins. How have we not seen this before? So I'll get into why I think Detective Pikachu could be great and why it could also be an absolute flop. But I'll talk about the top 3 rated films to sort of give you some perspective on how it could do well. I'm going to talk about the top 3 rated video game adaptations by Rotten Tomatoes score, because I think each of them has their own merits that could contribute towards the winning formula, as you know, people like Marvel, corporate entities like Marvel have succeeded at. Final Fantasy being produced sort of in-house by Square Pictures, it tried to test out its own computer graphic rendering capabilities that, while impressive at the time, ended up being almost fan fiction in a movie with a completely nonsense plot and awful structure set only to please the fans of Final Fantasy VII. See, it tries to appease the fans but also strays further away from the plot, which is bizarre. But what do you expect from a studio that made Final Fantasy XV's story only vaguely comprehensible by watching an anime, a film, and multiple different YouTube videos and promotional bits of material to grasp what the actual thing that happens in the game is? Nonsense, no wonder. But, you know, at least they tried to make it in-house. They clearly had passion and care and wanted to make a series. Rampage seemed to take an approach that the game was based on a small arcade series that hadn't really been in the public eye for a while, so while they were quite successful in the arcades in the 80s and the 90s, I wouldn't exactly class it as a recognisable brand name, but you can definitely do something with it. The bare basic lip service to the game, which involved giant monsters attacking a city. You don't have any canon story you need to adhere to, no hardcore fans you really need to appease. It's a clean slate. You can make whatever you want so long as there's giant monsters in the movie. They attached big stars to it to try and make use of The Rock's charisma and the fact that Jeffrey Dean Morgan was quite popular from The Walking Dead at the moment. And they also tried to make it quite tongue-in-cheek and a fun movie, but if I'm honest, it was a relatively bland movie that needed more interesting writing and direction. But it was close, just needed a little bit more creativity, and it was close. Now, Tomb Raider, that was a popular brand, and it had movies that came before it, but they weren't particularly good. However, you did have Angelina Jolie as the main star, and, you know, she was sort of poster material for little boys, and really pretty great casting on that part, and it did help her career in quite considerable ways. And I would definitely compare this film to a Marvel Phase 1 movie, a sort of origin movie that was tried to establish the character. Unfortunately, I found the new AAA games quite dull and not very inspiring. And especially for a movie that didn't really have any talent of a lot of the Marvel directors and writers have, yeah, it definitely came out of a very uninspired film. Really plain and uninteresting character writing in the film, had a decent enough villain, some action set pieces, but just weak character work and general, just wasn't really a good film. So those 3 films, they certainly had potential and certain aspects of them they certainly tried to get right, and I agree with a lot of those aspects that, you know, they did something right with them, and that's the key going forward. Now, I think Detective Pikachu could take the good aspects of each of those things and push it forward quite dramatically to become probably the first film to be fresh on Rotten Tomatoes and gross a fucking $1 million. 2019 and 2020 could be massive. If I'm honest, I think Detective Pikachu at this moment is too big to fail. It will be a landslide success if it has anywhere near a decent Rotten Tomatoes score. Not that a decent score has any bearing on the fact that it makes money, you know. Assassin's Creed got an awful Rotten Tomatoes score, but it made $100 million or whatever, and it's making a sequel soon. So, but I genuinely think this will be a well-received movie, and that will help push it in more sales by word of mouth. The trailers have been super popular and well received, and I think Legendary have played a bit of a blinder here. When I heard a Detective Pikachu film was coming out, my first thought was, it's another anime film. You know, like the 10s or whatever Pokemon films they've already got. Or perhaps it was some Japanese exclusive live action one with questionable CG, like the JoJo movie. Ooh. But a Western produced live action film with massive stars attached. Interesting choices made with the art direction. Not many people know anything about the Detective Pikachu series, which will definitely be a plus for this game, as everyone knows Pokemon, but nobody knows Detective Pikachu, so they have free reign and license to do whatever story they really want, but set it in the rich, vastly expanded world of Pokemon that everyone knows and loves. If it was a retelling of something like Pokemon Gold's story or something, it wouldn't exactly go down very well. The fans wouldn't be pleased, and neither would the general audiences, probably, but a funny buddy cop film where you can pull all sorts of interesting ideas from the hundreds of established Pokemon and settings they have, along with a neo-noir sort of aesthetic. Now, that's certainly interesting for a first film. The marketing for this film has been pretty massive already. I mean, far more than any video game movie that's come before it. There is genuine hype for this film and genuine interest, mainly because Ryan Reynolds is super hot right now. He's genuinely funny and a popular guy he's already made viral videos behind the scenes to help market this, like what he did with Deadpool that made it such a massive success. And it's already been pretty entertaining in the pre-release to this film. Making Pokemon realistic looking is a very interesting art direction. I mean, while it does look creepy in some areas, they play off this with the noir setting for the film and the comedic tone that it clearly is striving for, along with the genuine fans being interested in what their favourite Pokemons might look like in HD. My favourite Pokemon has always been Ludicolo. I'm actually fucking serious about that. And boy, I was quite happy to see how he looked. He looks like a creepy, nuts, fucking weird, furry, racist stereotype. I mean, judging by the amount of trailer analysis and secret videos blah 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 by major news outlets have already done, it's already akin to the Avengers films in terms of the amount. And if this film is successful, and I mean like $1 billion successful, which I suspect it might be, this could start perhaps greenlighting a lot of other major game series as films. They all want their own MCU, so the VGCU, hey, why can't that be a thing that the studios will strive for? Not that I think that would be a good thing, but I'll take good films about the things I like, if they are made good. I mean, I love the Street Fighter 2 movie. Fuck! Obviously, this film has to actually be good. The trailers do look funny. Ryan Reynolds is a pretty good choice for Detective Pikachu, even though I think Danny DeVito would definitely have been better. But everything looks like it's shaping up well, but, you know, not all things with good trailers have been smash hits or really well received. I mean, The Phantom Menace, as I mentioned before, that was pretty interesting from a trailer perspective, and people liked those trailers, but it was, yeah, you know. The director has most notably done Shark Tale, Monsters vs. Aliens, and the Goosebump movie, so no real knockouts there. There are 4 screenwriters, including the director, all of which have had middling success. I mean, Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom. So, some of them worked on The Tick, which is quite good. I mean, none of that has really got me going, yeah, there's going to be a masterpiece among this group of people. But so, if I'm honest, I'm not expecting a masterpiece. I'm not expecting a 99% touching, revolutionary film. I'm kind of hoping for like a 75% Rotten Tomatoes. Just a good enough film. You know, I enjoyed the film. There were flaws with it. It wasn't, you know, some of the jokes didn't land, but I enjoyed it throughout. Which is all it has to be, honestly, at this point, to really smash it. At least it isn't the Sonic movie, am I right? Well, we have to wait until the 10th of May to find out, unfortunately. It's a big advantage with the original game being a detective story. So the game itself is all about the characters and the plot. So it's even excusable with the fact that it being an interactive medium being quite difficult to represent in film form. Sonic and Mario will struggle with this, as they have the bare minimum plot and huge emphasis on gameplay, which is always a big problem to overcome in a lot of these video game adaptations. Pokemon is the biggest franchise in the world, and a fun detective story in that universe is a very clever idea. It's very clever. You can write whatever you want, have a normal by the book sort of story about the characters, but having it in a setting that everyone fucking knows about and already makes it super popular. Like, I'm a bit worried that it's PG Deadpool, but the jokes aren't gonna really land as well as they could. But it has Ken Watanabe in it. If I'm honest, I'm more looking forward to the Sonic movie because that's got fucking Jim Carrey in it, and I'm a big fan of that man. And the rest of it's gonna be god awful trash. So, man, what a year to be alive.